their first drive of the second half. Begins with Elliott breaking it into the secondary, and it's a foot race, and he will not be touched.
Hey, so the reason that I created this vlog was to discuss the recent suspension of Ezekiel Elliott and see why the NFL suspended him. And the reason I want to talk about it is because I personally believe, in my opinion, that it was unjust. The reason that I found out about this topic was I was playing fantasy football with some of my friends, and I had Ezekiel Elliott on my team, and it said that he was suspended for the next game, and I had no idea why, so I went and researched it. And from my research, I noticed that Zeke, in my opinion, was unjustly suspended, and hopefully from the research that I did, maybe you might see that too. The first reason on why I believe Zeke should not have been suspended from the NFL for 6 games is a friend of Tiffany Thompson, who's the accuser of this case, released an affidavit to the public stating this. 1. On the night of July 21st, 2016, at approximately 11:45 p.m., I attended the social room located at 527 North Park Street, Columbus, Ohio, with Tiffany Thompson, the accuser. At approximately 2 a.m., on July 22nd, 2016, I exited the social room with Tiffany to walk to our vehicle, and Tiffany was approached by another female who proceeded to physically assault Tiffany by slapping Tiffany in the face and pulling her hair. A fight ensued for approximately a few minutes before it was broken up. I was able to help break up the fight by grabbing Tiffany's waist to help separate her from the other female. After the fight outside the social room, Tiffany and I walked to our vehicle, and Tiffany explained to me Ezekiel Elliott was having a gathering at their rented apartment at the Carriage House, located in Columbus, Ohio. Tiffany then drove herself and I to the Carriage House, and because we were the first ones to arrive, we waited in our car in the parking lot for Ezekiel Elliott and his friends to also arrive. When Ezekiel Elliott's vehicle pulled up to the Carriage House parking lot, Ezekiel was sitting in the passenger seat and another female was driving. When Tiffany saw another female driving Ezekiel's vehicle, Tiffany exited our vehicle, approached the female's driver in Ezekiel's vehicle, and started screaming at the female driver. The female driver, Ezekiel, and other passengers in his vehicle exited and started walking towards the Carriage House. At no point during Ezekiel's walk to the Carriage House or at any time during the night did I witness Ezekiel come into physical contact with Tiffany or touch Tiffany. While Ezekiel and his friends entered the Carriage House, Tiffany yelled to Ezekiel that she was going to ruin his career and call the police. Another reason why I think Ezekiel Elliott had an unjust suspension was because of his trial with the NFL. In this trial, the judge was a former NFL representative, so there seems to be some bias which was had throughout the whole process. So the counter argument with this is that Ezekiel Elliott is getting this laid on him for his past actions, and so the NFL can overcorrect previous domestic violence cases, which makes a lot of sense because that is never acceptable, and what has even been accused is absurd. I asked 3 other people their thoughts on this stance. The first question I asked them was whether or not they just think his suspension was fair and that it should have happened. And the second question that I asked them was, do you think the trial was fair?
I think it is very unfair that Ezekiel Elliott was suspended because the NFL is just taking the accusation and using it against him because of the whole Ray Rice situation and the fact that his accuser said he didn't do it and there was no police report filed, that he is unjustly blamed. Ezekiel Elliott's trial was very unfair because the judge in his trial was a former National Football League associate, so there could be some bias or perhaps a conspiracy with his trial. It is very unfair, mainly because there was no police report, and without a police report, there should be no trial. His accuser said she knew that he did not do anything, and she confessed to it.
Elliott's accuser made a claim that has no physical evidence supporting it. Therefore, you cannot assume that Elliott is guilty, and therefore the NFL has no right to suspend him, and I believe that the NFL is rigged for doing this and should be penalized by the federal government. Much bias was demonstrated in this extremely unfair case, including the fact that the judge who handled the case was a former NFL executive and clearly from the start leaned towards the NFL's side of things. And also due to the fact that Elliott was never punished by the government for his supposedly claimed actions, and therefore shouldn't be punished by the NFL due to the fact that the NFL does not have enough evidence to prosecute him.
I personally think Zeke should be suspended. It's 2017, and it's time to start respecting women. I believe that the trial was fair because any case as serious as this involving domestic violence should be looked into further. Even as Ezekiel Elliott was falsely accused, and I believe this is what the NFL.
Opening possession of the second half, and now the Cowboys on offense give it to Ezekiel Elliott. And Elliott stiff arms and then shoved to the turf, but all the way inside the 20.